You are an overnight success, which is just amazing.
25 years to be an overnight success. I was more focused on, am I learning? Am I gaining experience? Am I gaining knowledge that will help me further down?
So I raised the money. Yeah, but how? How did that happen?
The hotel industry was in turmoil. A great hotel asset with a tremendous culture could create incredible value.
I'm lucky to be with Alan Fuerstman today, who's the founder, chairman, and CEO of Montage International, which is a hotel chain, but also has a new brand, relatively new brand, Pendry Hotels and Resorts, and now luxury residences. Alan, love your story. I know that you met with Dan Costa not too long ago from Worth Media Group, and he was telling me wonderful things about you. And of course, as someone who stayed in a few of your properties, been a fan from afar of your vision and creation, and just marvel at how you've been able to nudge your way into the luxury hospitality space. And you are an overnight success, which is just amazing.
25 years to be an overnight success. But yeah, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on with you.
Alan, looking at your story and how you started in New Jersey as a bellman at a local Marriott, it spurred a conversation in our shop about some young parents around with us. A couple have college age kids. And I was really struggling to find people any of their kids have ever had a job. They go to school, they work, they do their trips abroad, all the sports they do. But it was hard to find people who've had that local job. For me, it was working for my dad, who was a contractor, or working in retail. And I remember I worked in a men and boys clothing store in the local neighborhood. And I found out, boy, there were people who make a lot of money selling clothes, not just at retail, but I remember the Levi salesman. Levi was very hot back then. And when he'd come around, he was dressed beautifully. He made a lot of money. He had a beautiful car. And he told me he was making this great living. I would have never guessed there was a career opportunity to be a salesman of clothing. But I wonder what your thoughts are about the young people that you get to work with all the time in your industry, and knowing how you learned about a whole category of hospitality by viewing it from the entry-level rung of a bellman.
Yeah, no, I basically stumbled into it. I was looking for a part-time job my senior in high school, and I knew someone had worked at the Marriott Hotel, and I applied for a job, and my eyes were open to a whole new world of hospitality. And for me, it was just an enjoyable job during school, and then it became a summer job where I'd come back and work every summer. Never planning on making a career in the hotel industry, but what I observed and saw really piqued my interest. And when I graduated from college, I was just going to take a year off before going on to graduate school or doing something different. And it just happened to coincide with Marriott opening a resort in California. And the general manager of that hotel had been the person I had worked for in New Jersey. And we had kept in touch. And he said, hey, why don't you come work for me for a year and see the opening of a hotel through the eyes of a general manager, open the hotel as the bell captain, hire people like yourself, and you'll be exposed to so much. And again, I thought it was just going to be an adventure, but I was fascinated by the dynamic of a hotel, seeing it through the eyes of a general manager at a very young age. I decided this was something I could really see pursuing as a career. So I keep your eyes open to the possibilities, and anything can happen. And I was off and running on a hospitality career that started in a very casual, non-career oriented way.
Did you have a vision of what your career path would be? You grew up, it sounds like, suburban New Jersey?
Yeah, I grew up in suburban New Jersey. My father was a dentist. I thought I might want to go to law school or do something. I was a political science major. I thought I might want to do that. I really didn't know. We didn't have a family of people that had been in business before, so I wasn't really exposed to business. But I found the dynamic of what happens in a hotel, the complexity, the energy. It just felt good, and I saw that there was a clear path to to an exciting industry. So I just went for it.
And I saw that you went to Gettysburg College, so just a few hours south of where you grew up. Was that a good experience there? And
it was a great experience. It was a liberal arts school, and what I appreciate is the communication skills, whether it was and just the broad based knowledge. It was a time for me to grow up and develop, but piqued a lot of interest, whether it was sociology, psychology, history, and I often tell the young folks that aren't sure what they want to do, even though they may want to go in the hotel business. So the question is, should I go to hotel school? If you're absolutely convinced you want to be in it, it's a great education. You can do that. But equally important to me is learning to think critically, developing a sense of curiosity. And I encourage a broad education where you develop the communication skills and the ability to think. A philosophy class, a sociology class. It all lends itself to what we have to do in the work environment. And most of what we'll teach in the hospitality business, the technical parts, we can teach that. It's
on the job.
Exactly. Look, there's certain skills, chefs, and that are highly specialized. But for the most part, we can take talented young people with a great attitude and give them the technical skills to be highly successful if they're motivated and have great interpersonal skills, emotional intelligence, a number of things that you can gain from a broad education.
So you go to California, you work with a GM who is your GM in New Jersey. You have your eyes opened up. What was the next step after that, experiencing that year as through the eyes of a GM opening a new property?
Well, I decided that what I'd want to do is pursue a management career. So I went through Marriott's management training program. I got assigned to a property in Newport Beach, California, and I started working my way up. So I ran the front desk, I ran the housekeeping department, I got in food and beverage. I saw the hotel business, virtually every facet of it, and it gave me a strong base of knowledge and gave me a chance to grow. And it was during Marriott's growth years in the late 70s, through the 80s, and it was a great time to get additional responsibilities, because as you progressed, they needed people with talent to take on additional responsibilities. So I was very fortunate to be working for a growth company that afforded me the opportunities to continue to grow and develop.
I know along the way we were scheduled to do this a couple of weeks ago, and you had to reschedule because of the fires in LA. How did your properties and your people fare through that disaster?
And we fared pretty well. I wanted to stay close. I canceled our call. I wanted to stay close because there was a Sunset Fire, which wasn't too far away from our Pendry, West Hollywood, and I wanted to be available to our team in case I could help. We were very lucky relative to the fires in LA. What happened in the Pacific Palisades and the Pasadena, Altadena area was so tragic, and we're particularly sensitive because of the tragedy we experienced in Maui, where we have the Maui fire affected us deeply, where we had over 70 of our employees lost their homes, and we had one of our associates lost their lives, and behind it burned to the ground, and just the recovery and what was needed was so severe. So we were very sensitive to what's happened in LA as well, and our heart goes out to all those affected. Fortunately, in Orange County and our California properties were fared the trauma.
It's amazing how many things when you're in charge you have to learn to be good at and respond to. And I think you're absolutely spot on to keep your time available to help people who are in that time of need, because that's your responsibility and your opportunity too.
Absolutely, and being there to support our team is the primary responsibility we have as leaders of a company.
Back to your trajectory, so you go to the management training program. Is that something you're very conscious of as a young person like that? You say, I'm making a commitment to a career here. And one of the aspects of that career is you're going to have to move quite a bit.
The ability to move just opened more doors. So if you were flexible and could relocate, and fortunately, my family was my wife was incredibly supportive, and So we moved around quite a bit in those early years. Every couple of years we were moving. I moved from Newport Beach to Long Island, then to LA, then to Palm Desert, then to Tucson, then to Phoenix, then to Las Vegas. All that was that progression. It entailed getting a house and setting up and new doctors. So the burden was greater on the family than it was on me. Of course, I would be absorbed with work and my career. So it takes a real family team to be able to pull it off successfully.
And you're fortunate to have a spouse and kids who were flexible enough and understood the game and made that part of it easy on you, unless they were going kicking and screaming. But it seems to me, back to our original dialogue about young people getting exposures in those seemingly meaningless part-time jobs that, in my contention, it sounds like yours too, don't have to be meaningless. They can give you insights into different things that you're not going to get exposed to on your next a weekend trip to a tropical resort with your friends.
No, those early jobs are incredibly important. And you don't even realize it sometimes at the time you're doing it, but if you stay focused and seeing what's going on around you, it's funny, when I moved out to California, and was waiting for the hotel to open for me to actually start, I had a couple months to kill. So I took a job, a retail job. I never talk about this, but I actually took a job. I was living on Balboa Island, California, and I was selling clothes. Just for 2 months, I did that. Just I had time to kill. I wanted to work, and I never realized that, of course, later on I'd have retail shops, and having had that personal experience of working retail, and I never equated that job I did that summer for a few months just while I was waiting to start my hotel job. But you're so right. Everything that we get to do as a young person helps create the foundation of such invaluable opportunities in the future. And that's the best way to look at things.
Yeah, it's right. You're right there. It's never just a job. It's an opportunity to learn, get exposures. When we were chatting about your career in prep for this, a lady who works with me said, wait a minute, her younger brother, she worked part-time jobs all the time, all through high school, college, always worked. And she said, and then her brother, 10 years junior, who she calls the prince, didn't have to do all of that. So he graduates from college and goes right in and gets an advanced degree and comes out and thought he should start as the CEO, certainly. And then he's stunned to find out that he's working for somebody, and they go in and present the report and never mention that he'd done all the work on it. And he couldn't understand why he wasn't getting credit for it, because he had never been in the real world.
Yeah, it's the more experiences young people can get. It's
and variety.
The variety is really important. And it was interesting when I first started working right out of school. I certainly wasn't focused on the money, and early on in a career, you don't make a lot of money. I was more focused on, am I learning? Am I gaining experience? Am I gaining knowledge that will help me further down? And that's one of the things I try and tell young people as they're looking at the opportunities. You may get an offer that pays slightly more. You have to evaluate the total package of what you're gaining in the opportunity. And sometimes an additional salary is important and helpful, but more often than not, it's who are you working for? What kind of culture? What are you going to learn? How will that position you to earn further down the road when the bigger opportunities present themselves?
And the other thing, I think you mentioned, having a very supportive wife and family. All of those decisions that you make early on, when you choose to marry, if you choose to marry, what that relationship is like, when you choose to start a family, all of those impact your flexibility. And so just be conscious of it. I'm not saying don't do those things, but just be conscious how it changes your appetite for, or your tolerance for, ambiguity, the unexpected move, the unexpected change in career paths. You just need to understand that all of those decisions that we make naturally in life have consequences. And some of them good, but marrying is a big one. When you choose to start a family is another, and then your tolerance for ambiguity is, as you've mentioned. Now, you go through the Marriott training program. You opened up all of those properties. Which property you mentioned Long Island. Which property on Long Island? Was that the Coliseum?
Yeah, it was the Nassau in Uniondale. I was at the Nassau Coliseum. I was there I was the hotel manager there in 1984 and 85.
It's a big property.
Yeah, and I was a young man. I was in my mid-20s when I had that opportunity, and it was a very busy hotel. So, of course, the busier the hotel, the more experiences you gain, and so it was a good opportunity. But then I had an opportunity to move back out west and open a hotel again for Marriott out there. So I took that opportunity.
So when did you make the decision to become an entrepreneur?
After my Marriott years, I went to work for ITT Sheraton and got involved both in the running of hotels and also resort development work. And I became the president and managing director of the Phoenician Resort in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I was part
Great
of
property.
a spectacular resort, arguably the number one resort in North America. The years I operated it, and it was a great opportunity. But I was part of the development group there when the acquisition of it, when our company bought it.
A whole other set of learnings there, huh?
Exactly, and but I saw the business of hotels where we acquired the hotel for $240 million, and when I left 4 years later to open Bellagio in Las Vegas, the value of the Phoenician, based on how we had operated and the growth, had more than doubled. So it was worth well over $500 million. And I understood that a great hotel asset with a tremendous culture could create incredible value. And that started percolating in my head. I was thinking more of hotels beyond just operating hotels, but the business of hotels.
So you probably tuned into paying particular attention to the business side of things and the legal, the architecture, the permitting process, financing, who finances, who owns, when is it attractive to own, when is it attractive just to operate. So you're learning all of those aspects through that great experience.
All of that. And in fact, we added the Canyon building where I got to select the architect and the designer and work closely with the business plan of what that addition to the hotel could do and how it could help improve the profitability of the hotel and what it could be. And I love that part of the process, the creative side of it. So when I left the Phoenician and had this unbelievable opportunity to open Bellagio, which Steve Wynn was creating Bellagio and introducing luxury on a large scale, which hadn't been done before in Las Vegas. And he had recruited me because of my experience running the Phoenician, which was at 650 rooms, large scale luxury. But now we were going to do it at the scale of 3,000 rooms. And I got to see his entrepreneurial talents. And it got me thinking even further what opportunities might be out there on a more entrepreneurial way. And as I was looking at the hotel landscape, the luxury landscape, I thought there was a great opportunity to somewhat change what ultra luxury was. And if you think back 25 years ago, ultra luxury, in my opinion, was too stuffy, too pretentious. And I thought a much more gracious and humble approach to luxury would be what the next generation of luxury traveler would be looking for. So I set out to create a company that would redefine this ultra luxury service.
What was it like to work with Steve Wynn? He's a legend, huh?
Yeah, so creative, so dynamic, and it was an amazing experience. And I saw, the power that a charismatic leader can bring to an organization, his passion, attention to detail, and how he essentially reinvented Las Vegas. It was his drive and his passion that made that happen. And so I was able to see it close in. Now we all have our own styles and personalities that we inject into how we operate, and we're very different people. But I learned so much.
After Bellagio, you then decided to give a shot at yourself to develop this new model of ultra luxury.
I had been thinking about it quite a bit after the Phoenician experience and what I was able to learn and do there and the value creation. And when 9/11 hit, the hotel industry was in turmoil. Obviously, it was a shock, and I had seen 10 years earlier with the RTC debacle, where the hotel industry was struggling, and what I thought was that here we are post 9/11, and I'd been thinking about creating a luxury hotel company, but now would be the right time because there'd be an opportunity to buy, what I perceived there'd be an opportunity to buy luxury assets at a discount. My premise was slightly wrong. I was able to raise the capital, and I thought we would buy luxury assets, and I would then create a brand around something we bought. But what had happened after 9/11, different than the RTC years, was the banks had gotten much smarter and weren't taking back properties, and they were working with owners, and because the banks ended up taking a beating as these assets were trading at a discount. But what had happened was capital had dried up for new build opportunities, and I had raised the capital through a friend that was very supportive of what I was trying to do, and I was able to find a great opportunity in Laguna Beach and one in Beverly Hills, and that became the starting point to create what became Montage Hotels and Resorts.
So, Alan, a couple of things there. People hearing your story, you said you were able to raise the money. That's a big leap from never having done that. Who guided you through that? Did you have a chance to look over the shoulders as people were raising money for those other projects you were involved with? That's the big step. People say, okay, so I raised the money. Yeah, but how? How did that happen?
It happened through a relationship. And a friend of mine happened to have been the founder and chairman of eBay, Pierre Omidyar. And over lunch one day, and at this point, Pierre is a young man, he's a billionaire, and a dear friend. And over lunch one day, I said, I don't know if you're interested in diversifying and investing in luxury hotels, but I'm going to be starting a hotel company. And he put me in touch. He says, look, I'm very familiar with your track record and what you've done. We're friends. He put me in touch with his family office and explained what I was trying to do and what the thought was. And he took a leap of faith that I could, and he would invest in the luxury assets. I made him a partner in my management company. And I was off and running with the capital through a relationship that I had. And extremely fortunate to have had that level of relationship and his belief in my capabilities. And I took it very personal and was highly focused on making it a great investment for Pierre, and also I was highly motivated to create something that ultimately, that became Montage.
I remember visiting your property at Laguna not long after it opened up, and it was my wife and I used to love the Ritz-Carlton nearby. And then we heard about your property, and someone suggested next time you're going in that area, you got to try the Montage. So I remember we checked in a little later, like just past dinner. We were hungry, but not dinner hungry. So we just ordered, some cheese and some wine. And you had a lady chef then come out and bring a platter to us. We were the only people there sitting at the rail with that beautiful view you had. And we had the most wonderful evening because we invited her to pull up a chair, and she had an interesting background and story. And we so enjoyed having a couple of glasses of wine and some cheese with her and hearing her story. And that for us was the Montage, the brand, from then on, because it wasn't just as an incredible property, beautiful design, but it was her personality and the personality of the people we encountered.
Yeah, and she was amazing. I remember her. This was shortly after we had opened. And she was passionate about cheeses, and I let her develop this cheese program, and she'd make the most special bites and was so excited about teaching our guests about cheese and being a wealth of knowledge, and that was the way we operated. We had this unbelievable talent, so we let her grow and do with it. So we try not to paint people into a little box and here's your job. And you have extraordinary talent, so much talent within an organization. We look to nourish that. And she was a classic example of that. She did an amazing job. I'm so glad to hear you had that experience.
And I used to stay at your Beverly Hills property, and my wife and I, East Coasters, we're on Long Island, but we'd ski out west once a year back then. And our favorite place was Deer Valley, and of course, you built a beautiful property there. I spoke to someone just yesterday who's running a sales conference for his company. He's in the services insurance brokers. He's got a wonderful and big company. And I said, "Where are you taking the group this year?" He goes, "Well, we're going to Park City." I said, "Well, Park City is a wonderful place." He goes, "Better than that, we're going to Deer Valley. And best of all, we're staying at the Montage."
Such a great feedback. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to our associates and how we make guests feel when they're with us. Now we have these incredibly spectacular physical assets, beautiful properties, but at the end of the day, the stories that I hear is like the woman who gave you the cheese experience. It comes down to those interactions, and we
do they feel the permission to pull up a chair and let their passion out about what they do? That's all about culture. So yes, I'm hugely interested in how you raise the money, how you finance these properties. It's bad enough that people say, "Oh, I like hospitality. I really like going to restaurants, so I'll open up a restaurant." And 9 months later, they're begging to get out of the deal. And you go 9 yards further by saying, not only am I going to be in a restaurant business, I'm going to be in a retail business, and I'm going to be in a hotel business. And knowing it from the backside of the house like you do, it's not for the faint of heart. But so yes, you're about development, understanding property, how to acquire property, assemble, finance, brand, build these properties. But at the end of the day, your most important job is to be the cultural engineer. How do you think about that now that you have a son in the property, in the business with you at the Montage Pendry? How do you work with him in terms of what little dials do you have available to you that wonderful chef feels comfortable letting it out?
It's a lot about storytelling, sharing that with our leaders in the company, and recognizing those extraordinary acts of either kindness or the kind of wows that we can create for our guests. Those types of things are contagious. And when you celebrate your people doing remarkable things, it creates this environment where others in the organization want to do the same thing, get the same kind of recognition. And it also starts with our hiring process, finding people that actually derive great pleasure in making other people happy. And then it's a part of the personal fulfillment. And then from my perspective, being visible and at our properties, I probably sleep at our hotels. Of course, I live at one of them, but I'm virtually in our hotels well over 300 nights a year. It's just being present and recognizing and trying to support the organization any way we can.
Checklist of observations after each day?
Oh yeah, there's observation. There's always observations, and that's the thing about our business. There's
You're never done.
Never done. Always changing. It's funny when I travel, obviously to our hotels extensively, and I travel other places. And so I'm quite often I'm asked, "Oh, you must be a critic. You stay at luxury hotels all the time, and it must be frustrating." I said, "No, I'm always looking for things that are done well, so I can incorporate them and find new and fresh ideas or put our twist to it. And I'm less concerned about things that go wrong. And I'm more at other companies' hotels. I'm more interested in what things do they do well? What things can I learn? What innovative ideas can I share with our organization and put our signature on?"
So when you stay at other people's properties, and I assume you know the operators of the other big luxury chains, I assume there's some kind of a fraternity where you have occasion to meet one another. Do you share insights into other properties when you meet other people in your position?
Sure. No, most of the other CEOs I've known for many years and have strong relationships. I'm a big advocate for our industry, not just an individual company, but I think it's important that we support our industry collectively. And I think there's a pretty good esprit de corps amongst most of our competitors in that, yeah, we're competitors, but we also are supportive.
a friend of mine, Seth Godin, wrote a book called This is Strategy. And he talked about it's important to choose your industry. It's important to choose your role in it. It's important to choose your competitors. He said, because some industries are just dog eat dog. He says he chooses to be a writer. He said, independent craftsman. He doesn't have a staff. And he said, and so I'm in the book writing business. So I get to hang around with a lot of other book writers who are people I like to spend time with, and we root for one another. Sounds to me like it might be similar in the luxury property business. I'm sure you're competitive, but you're not competitive that the other person can't do well as well.
Exactly. And, sometimes the tide lifts all ships, and more successful we are, or some of our competitors are, the better it can be for our industry.
I read recently that Barry Sternlicht is a fellow I have a high regard for, is getting back into the hotel business. He's been in it for a while, but he bought back the Starwood brand, and he has a Baccarat brand. And apparently this industry gets in your blood. You can't move away.
It does. I think Barry fell in love with the hotel business. He started on the investment side, and then, of course, he's bringing back Starwood as a brand, which I think is amazing. That's a great thing. He's got the One brand as well. So, yeah, I think it's good to see what he's doing.
I remember him telling me one time, I said, I stayed recently at the St. Regis, the property in New York that he redeveloped. And he said, yeah, it's an amazing place. He said, I charge you $19.50 for a glass of orange juice, and I can't make money.
New York has some unique challenges.
What's your feeling now in your business? Do you like to own the properties? Do you like to syndicate the ownership of the properties and just want to be the operator?
Yeah, so we're a management company, not too dissimilar to Four Seasons or Ritz-Carlton or other luxury hotel companies.
And it's amazing how you've nudged your way in there with those other two big luxury brands, because for a long time it was just the two of them, and not anymore.
Yeah, no, we've done it essentially asset light. We'll invest some sliver equity from time to time, but we're not on the ownership side. So we work very closely with owners, and that's an important component of the story. That we have this huge responsibility to help owners maximize their goals and be successful on the ownership side of that. And the best way to do that is to have consistency, and we've been highly focused on where we'll put the Montage or Pendry brands. One of the things I'm most proud of is this past year, Forbes, who gives out the 5-star awards, recognized Montage as the only brand in the world where every hotel is 5 stars.
I read that. That's quite an accomplishment.
I'm so proud of the team, because it took every general manager running hotels at a very high level, and the consistency. But it's a consistency, and it speaks to the brand promise. And part of that is our site selection and our discipline in saying no to opportunities that may yield a nice management agreement, but if it's not of the same caliber or the right fit for our other hotels in our portfolio, we just won't do it. We're going to stay that disciplined and focused, so that at the end of the day, the brand stands for something, and our guests will see a consistency of service and a level hospitality across the portfolio.
How important is a reservations network?
The sales and marketing and is incredibly important, and that's one of the areas that we've been able to excel. And we've been able to compete with the legacy brands, the big brands who have these large reservation systems and distribution networks, and we've been able to do it. So we have our own network. We leverage many channels. You have we have a relationship with preferred hotels that help support us. We have a robust sales and marketing group that handles the group activity. What I found when we opened, I was fortunate when we launched Montage. It coincided with the internet explosion and the transparency that it presented for the consumer. So when you think back prior to the internet, if you were opening a hotel, you would have to spend a lot of money to market or to get PR, to get exposure. But what happened shortly after we opened, around the time we opened, was that you could go online and read about a group of hotels in a market, And because we had gotten off to such a great start, we were getting the press and exposure, and our online presence was strong. That it was an equalizer and helped us. I think it helped us accelerate awareness in a marketplace much quicker than it would have 30, 40 years ago. And so I think we took advantage of that in a very positive way.
You mentioned that you opened the Montage in Laguna in 2001, obviously soon after 9/11. So you had your development activities going on long before that.
It actually opened in 2003.
Oh, it was 2003.
I started the company January of 2002. We opened Laguna in 2003.
So in your business life, you've lived through a lot of big traumas. 2008-9 financial crisis, COVID must have been a kick in the head for everybody in your industry. Is your skin getting tougher and tougher?
Well, I mean, look, those were two amazingly challenging times, but a lot of lessons learned through that process, and it came down to an amazing group of people that I had working with me that helped us actually prosper through those times. And but we had to react, obviously, and adjust how we conducted business, and had to focus on really how do we keep the great talent that we had built up in the organization, and how can we continue to mentor and nurture and develop people going through this difficult time. And we came out of it in a stronger than we went in both instances. So it was difficult times, but a lot of great lessons learned through the process.
21, almost 22 years later, the Montage brand has earned its way into the ultra luxury hospitality lore. Did you have that Montage brand in your pocket for a while, or how did that come about?
No, so when I started the company, my strategy was to acquire an existing hotel, and then I would have built a brand around it. So I actually named my company the Platinum Hotel Group as a placeholder name when I started the company. And then when I started looking for assets, we didn't find an existing asset. I shifted and had this opportunity in Laguna to open a hotel. So all of a sudden I needed to come up with a consumer brand for the project in Laguna that we were in the process of acquiring. And the name of that hotel, that site, was going to be the Laguna Beach Colony, and it was going to be operated by Ritz as an independent hotel. But the Laguna Beach Colony name didn't work for me, for a company and for an individual asset. So I had to come up with a name for Laguna and for the company. And because Laguna Beach had started as an artist colony, I was inspired by artistic words. And so I went to an art reference guide, and I went through A's, B's, C's, got to the letter M, saw the word montage. It said artful compilation collection. And I said to myself,
that's jumped off the page after
a collection of hotels, a collection of people to come together to do extraordinary things. And then I said to myself, I'm staying at the Ritz, I'm staying at the Montage, I'm staying at the Four Seasons, I'm staying at the Montage. Sounded great off the tongue. I checked with our lawyers, got the name locked up, and that's how Montage came to be the name of both Laguna Beach and the company.
It's all history now. Tell me about the thoughts around the birthing of the Pendry brand. When did that happen? What's its place in your constellation of properties, and what does it look like going forward?
Yeah, Pendry's more contemporary luxury, and there are a lot of markets that the ultra luxury Montage wouldn't quite fit. It was not the right fit, whether economically or the brand just wasn't an ideal location. Yet there were still markets that would do well with a luxury hotel. And as we looked at the competitive landscape, maybe 2012, 13, 14, I had been turning down a lot of opportunities because they weren't right for Montage. Yet we saw a need in the market for the evolving, what was lifestyle or boutique hotels, where you'd have these hotels that were super cool, but didn't necessarily have the service culture that Montage and other luxury brands had. And we said to ourselves, what if we captured the energy, vibrancy of these lifestyle hotels and coupled it with the style of service that was the foundation of what Montage was, and could we fill a need in the marketplace for that customer that was maturing from the lifestyle hotels that were known for Shirley Dorman's dimly lit hotels, small rooms, but a scene. And why couldn't we create that kind of energy, that kind of art, that kind of culture, and yet married it with a level of service? And again, we found a sweet spot in the market for a customer that was looking for the energy and excitement that kind of hotel brought in, but now they wanted the creature comforts of luxury that we could combine. And my son has done a remarkable job driving the Pendry brand for us, has his finger on the pulse of art and activity, and has been the curator and the driving force of that brand, and coupled with the style of service that Montage has been known for, it's been a terrific formula for us.
I see you just opened a Pendry brand in New Jersey. How many properties now carry the Pendry flag?
9. We actually have 9 Pendrys that are open now and 7 Montages. We have another dozen hotels in the works, both Montage and Pendrys.
And do you think there's a place for another brand? Do you see another niche developing? Did you have that cooking in the back there?
Not right now. I think we're focused clearly. There's so much opportunity for growth for both Montage and Pendry. And what I like about the two brands we have is that they're both luxury customers. And one of the most pleasant surprises when we introduced Pendry was how much the Montage customer enjoys the Pendry experience and vice versa. And the connectivity of the two brands from an experience has been great. So it's great. So when you look at our company, our database is extremely important, and our customers, it's truly a luxury customer through and through. And I think we're gonna stick with that for now.
So how do you cultivate customer A stays at a Montage hotel, and now how do you want that customer to behave when they have another trip planned, that they go and look to see if there's a Montage or a Pendry in that market?
Yeah, we want to be top of mind. And the way to be top of mind is to create the kind of experiences you've had and others, where if there's a Montage in the market that you want to go, or you're looking for an experience, you think about Montage, and you think about Pendry, and it really just comes down to how you're made to feel. And then there's the trust that if we open in a certain market, you want to try one of our hotels because it's based on the experience you had. And as we grow, our focus has to be on our existing hotels, because it's the experiences that our guests have in our existing hotels that drive the future success for both brands. So we can't take our eye off on the ball on the service delivery of our hotels, and on that's what fuels our growth.
Wonder about club concepts. We live on Long Island. We have a beach house out east, and there was a old rundown beach property built probably in the 40s or the 50s, and a different restaurateur would take it over every year. Never have enough capital because they were on short-term leases to fix up the property, but it had an incredible piece of real estate. But maybe there's 14 weekends in a summer, and if they had rain on 5 of them, they were dead. And 2 years later, there's another restaurateur in there. Well, Discovery Land takes over the property and has the capital and redoes the whole property. And of course, they have a restaurant, but it's not open to the public. They turn it into a club concept, and they charge a very high entry fee. And the cost to be in this club are expensive, but it is a terrific experience. And so they get people who have the disposable income to hold their nose, write the check, write the ongoing checks, and have this tremendous experience. And if it rains those 5 weekends, they're not out of business because their model is different. Are you seeing club concepts develop in your industry as well? I see you have luxury residences now at Pendry.
Very much so. We introduced the Elwood Club at our Pendry in Newport Beach, where similarly we had it's a social club, and we have tremendous membership there that are a big part of our business model now, and creating the kind of membership there is something that worked. Newport Beach was an ideal community for a club, and we built out the amenities, cabaret, the restaurant, the pool area, to really be able to accommodate it. And I think as we continue to grow, markets that can support a great club, we're going to introduce clubs. That club concept works well, but the key is that you have the right amenity offering, that you have the right programming for the memberships, that you create a value proposition for a membership. And not all markets are right for clubs. Some are and some aren't. So we're going to be very prudent in where we'll put our clubs, but we think it's a great opportunity, and we're really pleased with what's happening in Newport Beach at our Elwood Club, and we will roll out more clubs when appropriate. The key is not forcing it in a market or in a hotel that really can't deliver on a promise.
And it would seem, my guess is that people belong to the Elwood Club feel a special affinity for your brands and will go out of their way to find your properties as they travel about.
Definitely, and we market our other properties to our members, and we'll create whether it might be a ski trip to one of our ski resorts, or it might be some social events that will help our club staff will help book reservations for our members, and it's very much about a relationship that our team develops with our members, and it's not uncommon for the general manager of our hotel in Newport Beach to call one of his peers that, hey, one of our members is coming, can you do something special for a member, or do this, that, or the other thing, because it's so important that we have these long-term relationships with our members to build upon the success that's just begun.
I see at Pendry also advertised that you have luxury residences. What role does that play in your mix going forward?
So both with Montage and Pendry, there's been a residential component, and every Montage has a residential component. It's either in the building itself, or sometimes it's freestanding. Like Gillsburg, the residences are spread out there. And Montage Laguna Beach, the first one we did, we had 14 Ocean Estate lots that we sold, and 14 villas. Every Montage has had a residential component, and about 50% of our Pendrys have had it. And we've got some incredible real estate that projects as part of our hotels. Our Pendry in Barbados, we're just bringing to market some residences there, which are right on a marina, and a Pendry hotel that we've started construction on. It's going to be a great place. We have a Montage in the Bahamas, a private island we're developing with great residential real estate we're selling there. We're selling real estate in Punta Mita in Mexico, both a Montage and a Pendry we're building, and both have residences. There's 60 Montage residences and 30 Pendry residences that we'll be bringing to market. We've got a Pendry in Mexico City under construction with the residential opportunities there, and an amazing neighborhood there, Roma. It's a great location. So we've got residential for sale there. And we're going to continue to see residential opportunities that go so well with the brand. You have an opportunity to live a hotel lifestyle and environment, and it's very popular, and we're going to continue to grow that aspect of our business as well.
I stayed at a property in Boston in the fall, the Raffles Hotel, and I think there's about half residential and half hotel. And as you say, the appeal there is if you want hotel amenities in a residential setting, people like you have really tapped into that market and created a sense of community. People who say, I'm a Montage kind of person, I'm a Pendry kind of person, and I want to live that way, not just stay here on my travel.
And as a resident, you have the opportunity to put it in a hotel rental program as well. So if you want to offset some of your carrying costs, many of our buyers do that. Some do, some don't. But it creates an opportunity to give you a little more flexibility on the cost of carrying a property.
So what's next, Alan? You mentioned all the new plans you have all over the place: Caribbean, Mexico, Europe. No end in sight. It seems to me that you've never been better positioned as a company, as a brand, and now with your son at the helm at Pendry, looks like your future is pretty well cemented as well.
Yeah, it's an exciting time, and for us, the key is staying disciplined, and it's not about the quantity of what we do; it's more about the quality and the consistency. So we're going to continue to stay focused on that consistency for both of the brands, and that'll basically dictate the pace at which we can grow. Because we're just not going to do projects just for the sake of putting a dot on a map somewhere.
Do you have a training program like you were privy to at Marriott that you've developed in your own properties to nurture your future leadership at the property?
Yeah, we have a great emphasis on learning in our company. We have directors of learning at our properties, and we have programs in place to bring talent into the organization, and then to continue the development. To grow the way we do, we need to continue to do a great job mentoring people and helping them grow. Because as we open each new property, the more flexibility our team has to either transfer to a new hotel or participate in an opening, the more adept we can be at transferring the culture from hotel to hotel. It's so important that we do that. And the way to do that is through training and continuing on that focus.
I see that there are a few grandkids, I think 5 in your world. It's a great club, isn't it?
It's the best. It is so much fun, and fortunately, they live relatively close by. They're in Orange County, not far from where I live. So we enjoy the grandchildren to no end.
And you'd be happy if they said, Grandpa, we want to follow in your footsteps and go into the hospitality business.
It's funny. I have 4 children, and at some point they've all been involved in our business. 2 of them work for us now full time. One's a musician, actually plays at some of our hotels. But yeah, it's been something that's been open to them, but nothing that I forced on them. So
but they're learning all the time. It's a family business. If you're around the dining room table, you're going to talk shop.
They absorb so much of it. Exactly right. And there's times I don't want to talk about it, but I can't help it. I mean, it's part of the family dynamic, and So
does your wife roll your eyes when you're out at a restaurant and it's not in one of your properties, and she's looking over at you making a list?
Well, yeah, she sees my impatience sometimes or whatnot, but no, incredibly supportive, and the reality is they are so observant and quick to point out insights and super compassionate. They keep me so well grounded, or try to, and focus on the people and the relationships, and it's a dimension that has been something that's been incredibly supportive, and one that I cherish.
Well, I'm so glad you got together with Dan Costa a few weeks ago, because now we've had a chance to meet. You have an amazing story. You've accomplished so much. And it sounds to me like, as we as fans sit in the bleachers watching you and your family in the weeks, months, and years ahead, it sounds like there's be a lot more excitement to watch and a lot more accomplishment are coming.
No, thank you very much. And love talking to fellow entrepreneurs who read your story as well. And It's amazing what can happen when you get to live the American dream, and I'm humbled by it every day, and it's just amazing.
We'll both get the opportunity to go visit the American Dream Institute that Michael Milken's opening up across the street from the White House in Washington, D.C. That the American dream is alive and needs to be polished, and you're a great role model for exactly what it's all about. Thank you for being so generous with your time today, Alan. So nice to learn about you. And now I have to go talk to my assistant about making sure I never stay at another property again.
Well, I look forward to welcoming you back to many Montages and Pendrys. And when you're in New York City, make sure you see our Pendry in Manhattan West, which is
I've heard all about it, and I'll be seeing it in a couple of weeks.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
Thanks, Alan. Pleasure to spend time with you.
Thank you.